He went on a trip and gave his ex-wife the house key. But when he returned, he couldn't believe his eyes. David Wilson felt the weight of his suitcase in his hands as he climbed the steps to his front door. After 2 intense weeks of work in Chicago, all he wanted was a shower and some rest. He'd left the key with Jennifer just to water his plants, nothing more. But when he opened the door, the air caught in his lungs. Jennifer was there, sitting on the living room couch as if she owned the place, a calm smile on her face. The shock wasn't just because she was there, it was because of what his eyes took in around him. The house had been completely transformed. "Hi, David," she said, standing up calmly. "Welcome back." The words stuck in his throat. "Jennifer, what are you doing here? And all this?" Where there had once been white walls and simple furniture, he now saw warm colors, fresh flowers in elegant vases, colorful throw pillows on the couch, and the delicious aroma of home-cooked food coming from the kitchen. It was like he'd walked into the wrong house. Jennifer took a deep breath, her serene expression slowly fading. "I need to tell you something important, David. Sit down, please." He dropped his suitcase to the floor, still processing the surreal scene. 6 months ago, after 3 years of marriage, they had divorced in a bitter separation. Jennifer had been clear. She never wanted to see him again. And yet here she was, in the house that had once been theirs, changing everything. "Explain this to me," he said, his voice tense. "I gave you the key just to water the plants, not to do all this." I know it seems strange," Jennifer whispered, clasping her hands. "But the Monday after you left, I got a call from Lakeside Medical Center. It was about your mother." David's blood ran cold. Mrs. Reynolds was 72 and lived alone in an apartment just a few miles away. "My mother? What happened to her?" "She had a fall at home and spent the night on the floor until a neighbor found her. She was dehydrated with a suspected hip fracture. They tried calling you several times, but..." David patted his pockets for his phone, remembering it had died during his last meeting, and he hadn't charged it. "But why did they call you?" Jennifer lowered her eyes, embarrassed. "I'm still listed as her emergency contact in her medical records. You know how forgetful your mother is with paperwork. When they couldn't reach you, they called me." The reality began to sink in for David. After the divorce, he'd updated some documents, but had completely forgotten about his mother's records. "Where is she now?" he asked, his voice thick. "In the guest room. The doctors said she'd need special care for a few weeks. Her apartment has stairs. She couldn't go back there, so You brought her here," David finished, still trying to take it all in. "I didn't know what else to do, David. I tried everything to reach you. I called your office, but they said you were in meetings all day and couldn't be disturbed. Your mother needed help, and I couldn't just leave her at the hospital." Guilt began to eat at David. He knew how strict his company was about not interrupting executives during important trips, but he'd never imagined it could lead to something like this. "So that's why you transformed the whole house." "The doctor said she'd need an adapted environment. Handrails in the bathroom, a hospital bed, a ramp at the entrance. I used the credit card that's still in my name to buy everything." David ran his hands over his face. The additional credit card he'd forgotten to cancel after the divorce. "Jennifer, David?" A frail voice came from the hallway. Mrs. Reynolds appeared, walking slowly with the help of a walker, her face lighting up when she saw her son. "My boy, you came back." David felt his heart tighten. His mother looked frailer than when he'd seen her a month ago, but her eyes sparkled with joy. "Mom, why didn't you tell me you weren't feeling well?" "Oh, son, you were working so hard. I didn't want to bother you with an old woman's nonsense." "Nonsense? Mom, you could have been seriously hurt." Mrs. Reynolds smiled, looking affectionately at Jennifer. "Thank goodness your Jennifer was here to take care of me. That girl is an angel, David. She stayed with me at the hospital the first night, adapted the whole house, made delicious meals every day. I don't know what I would have done without her." The silence hung heavy in the air. David looked at Jennifer, who averted her gaze, clearly uncomfortable with the praise. "Mom, Jennifer and I aren't— I know, son, Mrs. Reynolds interrupted, her voice suddenly softer. She told me about the divorce, but she still took care of me like a real daughter. David felt a mix of gratitude and confusion. Jennifer had cared for his mother when he wasn't available, spent her own money, devoted 2 weeks to someone who technically wasn't her responsibility anymore. Jennifer, I don't know how to thank you, he finally said. No need to thank me. Your mum has always been important to me, even after everything. Kids, Mrs. Reynolds said, leaning on her walker. I'm a little tired. I'll rest in my room. She slowly walked away, leaving David and Jennifer alone again. The silence stretched for long minutes. You didn't have to do all this, David said gently. I know, but I couldn't leave your mom helpless. And now? How do we handle this? Jennifer sighed, walking to the window. I imagine you'd want me to leave soon. I can help arrange a caregiver for your mom or— That's not it, David quickly interrupted. It's just, this is all so confusing. 6 months ago, we could barely be in the same room without fighting, and now you're here taking care of my mum, transforming my house. Our house, Jennifer murmured before correcting herself. Sorry, your house. David noticed how natural her slip sounded. For 3 years, that had been their home. Jennifer had picked the wall colors, planted the flowers in the garden, dreamed of children running through the living room. Where have you been sleeping? He asked. On the living room couch. Your mum took the guest room and I didn't want to intrude in your room. Jennifer, you can't sleep on the couch. Take the main bedroom. I'll sleep in the living room. No, David. This is your home. I'm the intruder here. You're not an intruder. You saved my mum when I wasn't here to do it. Jennifer turned to him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. You know what's funny? These past few months, I've thought a lot about us. About where everything went wrong. And taking care of your mum, seeing her old photos around the house. I remembered so much good we had here. David's chest tightened. The photos. He'd put them all away after the divorce, but Mrs. Reynolds always asked to see family memories. Jennifer, no, let me finish, she continued, her voice trembling. I know we didn't work out. I know I made mistakes, and so did you. But caring for your mum reminded me of the person I was when I was with you. The person I liked being. David stepped closer to her, hesitant. I've been thinking about us too, especially during this trip. I was in a cold hotel in Chicago, eating alone in the restaurant, and I kept imagining what it would be like to come home and have someone to talk to about my day. David, but I know it's complicated. We hurt each other a lot during the divorce. We said things we shouldn't have. Jennifer nodded, wiping away a tear that escaped. Maybe we just need time to understand what all this means. Maybe, he agreed. A noise from the kitchen interrupted them. It was the oven timer. Dinner's ready, Jennifer said, snapping back to reality. I made that shepherd's pie your mom likes. David smiled involuntarily. Jennifer had always known exactly what Mrs. Reynolds liked. She'd spent countless Sundays learning recipes from her mother-in-law, building a relationship that went far beyond their marriage. I'll call her for dinner, he said. During dinner, Mrs. Reynolds shared details about her recovery, praised Jennifer's care, and showed genuine joy at having them both there. David watched as Jennifer tended to his mother's every need, cutting her food into small pieces, helping with her medication. It was impossible not to notice how completely she dedicated herself to the older woman's care. Her clothes were simple, she looked tired, but her gestures were full of tenderness. Jennifer, Mrs. Reynolds said between bites, you've lost weight. Are you eating properly? Jennifer brushed it off, but David noticed she did look thinner. There was something in her expression that hinted at worries beyond just caring for his mother. After dinner, while Mrs. Reynolds watched her soap opera in the bedroom, David helped Jennifer wash the dishes. Can I ask you something? He said, drying a plate. Of course. How did you manage to take 2 weeks off work to care for my mom? Jennifer stopped scrubbing the pot, her shoulders tensing. David, did something happen? She took a deep breath before answering. I was laid off 3 weeks ago. David nearly dropped the plate he was drying. What? Why? The company was cutting costs. Senior employees, higher salaries. I was on the list. Jennifer, why didn't you tell me? We were divorced, David. Why would I come to you with my problems? She was right, but David felt a pang of pain. During 3 years of marriage, they'd shared everything. Successes, failures, fears, dreams. The divorce had created a chasm between them. How are you managing financially? Jennifer took a long time to answer, focusing intently on the pot she was washing. I was using my savings, and when your mom needed the medical equipment, I sold some things. What things? The engagement ring, the necklace you gave me on our first anniversary, the watch I got from my grandmother. David felt like he'd been punched in the gut. Jennifer had sold her most precious jewelry to care for his mother. Jennifer, why did you do that? She turned to him, her eyes filled with tears. Because your mom needed help, and you weren't here. Because she always treated me like a daughter, even when I didn't deserve it. Because I couldn't let her suffer. David pulled her into an impulsive hug. Jennifer resisted for a second before giving in, starting to cry softly. I'll pay you back for everything, he murmured. It's not about money, David. It never was about money. They stayed like that for a few minutes, holding each other in the kitchen, just like they used to when they were married, and one of them was sad. It felt familiar and strange at the same time. When they pulled apart, Jennifer wiped her eyes and went back to washing the dishes as if nothing had happened. Jennifer, David said softly, thank you for everything, for taking care of my mom, for sacrificing your things, for being here when she needed you. I'd do it again, she answered without hesitation. That night, David insisted Jennifer sleep in the master bedroom while he stayed on the living room couch. Even after lying there for hours, he couldn't fall asleep. The house felt different, not just the decor, but the energy. There was life there again. The next day, David decided to work from home to spend time with his mother and help Jennifer. Throughout the morning, he observed the routine she had created. Medications on time, physical therapy exercises, conversations that lifted Mrs. Reynolds' spirits. Son, his mother called when Jennifer went to the grocery store. I need to talk to you. Go ahead, Mom. You still love her. David nearly choked on his coffee. Mom, don't bother denying it. I saw you watching her during dinner last night. I saw how worried you get when she leaves. I saw how you hugged in the kitchen. Mom, it's complicated. We got divorced for a reason. And what was that reason again? David hesitated. At the time of the divorce, everything had seemed so clear. Constant fights, lack of communication, different priorities. But now, watching Jennifer care for his mother with so much tenderness, it was hard to remember exactly why it had all gone wrong. We just couldn't understand each other anymore, he finally said. Or you just stopped trying to understand each other, Mrs. Reynolds countered. David, I've lived a long life. I've seen relationships that worked and others that failed. And I can tell you one thing. What that girl has done for me these past 2 weeks isn't done out of obligation. It's done out of love. Love for family. Love for you. Mom, it's not that simple. It's not simple, son. But it's not impossible either. You're both different people than you were 6 months ago. Sometimes life gives us a second chance to do better. David knew his mother was right, but there was so much fear involved. Fear of getting hurt again, fear of hurting Jennifer again, fear that the same problems would resurface. When Jennifer returned from the grocery store, she brought news that would change everything. David, she said hesitantly, I need to tell you something. They were in the living room while Mrs. Reynolds did her physical therapy in the bedroom. What is it? I got a call this morning from a company in Seattle. They're interested in my resume and want to schedule an interview for next week. David's stomach dropped. Seattle. It's a really good opportunity, David. Great salary, health benefits, room for growth. After being unemployed, I can't pass up a chance like this. But what about my mom? Your mom is improving every day. In another week, she'll be walking without the walker. You can hire a caregiver, or she can go back to her apartment. David knew Jennifer was right. It was an important professional opportunity for her, but the thought of her leaving again, especially now that they had reconnected, was painful. When would you move? If I get the job, they want me to start in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. The time they had spent together caring for his mother would be the same amount of time until she was gone for good. Is this what you want? He asked. Jennifer took a long time to answer. It's a new life, David, a chance to start over, far from everything that reminds me of our marriage, the divorce, all the pain we went through. And that's what you want? To forget everything? She looked him in the eyes. I don't even know what I want anymore. The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Mrs. Reynolds' physical therapist. During the session, David kept thinking about the possibility of Jennifer leaving. There was something cruel in the irony of the situation. Just as they were reconnecting, life would pull them apart again. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now, continuing. That afternoon, while Mrs. Reynolds rested, David suggested that he and Jennifer go to the mall to buy some missing items for his mother's care. In truth, he wanted an opportunity for them to talk alone. In the car, the initial silence was broken by Jennifer. David, about Seattle. You don't have to explain, Jennifer. I completely understand it's a good opportunity. It's not just that, she said, nervously fidgeting with her purse strap. Staying here, in this house, taking care of your mother, made me remember so much. And I don't know if I can handle it. What kind of things? Jennifer took a deep breath before continuing. Remember when we planned to have kids? We always said your first child would be raised in this house, that your mother would be the most doting grandma in the world. David remembered perfectly. They had turned the guest room into a future nursery in the early years of their marriage, the attempts to conceive, the doctor visits, the pressure it had created between them. I remember, he said softly, taking care of your mother, seeing her with old photos, talking about grandchildren who never came. It really got to me. David pulled the car over, noticing Jennifer was starting to cry. Jennifer, and there's something else I never told you, she continued, her voice trembling. After the divorce, about 2 months later, I found out I was pregnant. David felt the world stop around him. What? I was going to tell you, but I lost the baby at 10 weeks. It was right after that awful fight we had at the lawyer's office, when you said you wanted to forget I existed. David felt like he couldn't breathe. Jennifer had been pregnant, and he hadn't known. She had lost the baby alone without support, while he was drowning in his own grief over the divorce. Why didn't you tell me? He asked quietly. Because you made it very clear you wanted nothing more to do with me. And after I lost the baby, I thought it would be cruel to tell you about something you'd never know. David turned to her, seeing the pain etched on her face. Jennifer, I'm so sorry. If I had known, what would you have done? Come back to me out of pity? Pretended our problems didn't exist? I would have been by your side, no matter what. Jennifer wiped her tears with the back of her hand. I know, and maybe that's why I didn't tell you, because I knew you'd do the right thing, even if it wasn't what you truly wanted. David reached out and held her hand. Jennifer, you went through that alone. It must have been terrible. It was. But it also taught me I'm stronger than I thought, that I can survive the worst things in life. They sat in silence for a few minutes, hands clasped, sharing a pain that had been buried for months. Is that why you want to go to Seattle? David asked. To start completely over. Partly, yes. Here, everything reminds me of what we lost. The baby that never came, the marriage that didn't work, the dreams that didn't come true. David understood. For Jennifer, staying there meant constantly living with ghosts of the past. What if we tried writing a different story? He asked hesitantly. David, we already tried. Look how it ended. But now we're different. You went through that loss. I learned to value what really matters. Maybe we can try a different way. Jennifer looked at him with a mix of hope and fear. I don't know if I can risk my heart again. Neither do I, David admitted. but maybe it's worth trying. Slowly, no rush, no pressure. Jennifer pulled her hand away and leaned back in her seat. David, I need this interview in Seattle. I need to know I have other options in life, that I'm not here just because I have nowhere else to go. David understood her need to feel independent. Then go. Do the interview. If you get the job, evaluate whether it's really what you want. And if you decide to stay, we'll talk about trying again. And if I decide to leave? David felt a lump in his throat. Then I'll root for you to be very happy there. When they returned home, they found Mrs. Reynolds in high spirits in the living room. Kids, I have good news. The doctor called and said I'm recovering better than expected. Next week I can already go back to my apartment. David forced a smile. It was wonderful news, but it meant there was no longer any reason for Jennifer to stay. That's great, Mom. I'm really happy. Jennifer, dear, Mrs. Reynolds continued, I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done. You saved my life. You're exaggerating, Mrs. Reynolds. I just did what anyone would do. No, sweetheart. What you did went far beyond that, and I hope you know how special you are. That night during dinner, Mrs. Reynolds told old family stories, including several about David and Jennifer's relationship. It was as if she were trying to bring back good memories between them. Remember that Christmas when you came to pick me up, and Jennifer brought that giant turkey that didn't fit in the oven? She laughed. We had to improvise with 2 baking pans. Jennifer smiled, recalling the incident. And David insisting it would work, even though the turkey was bigger than the oven. I was sure we'd find a way, David defended himself, also smiling. We did, Jennifer said, and it turned out delicious. You two always found a way to work things out, Mrs. Reynolds observed. You were a good team. The comment hung in the air, heavy with meaning. After dinner, David went to the guest room to say goodnight to his mother before she slept. Son, can I say something? Of course, Mom. I know Jennifer is going for that interview in Seattle. David wasn't surprised. Mrs. Reynolds always had sharp ears. What do you think about it? I think she needs to know she has choices, that she's here because she wants to be, not because she has to be. Do you think she'll get the job? I'm sure of it. Jennifer is smart, dedicated, caring. Any company would be lucky to have her. And if she does? Mrs. Reynolds held her son's hand. Then you'll have to decide whether you're willing to fight for her or let her go again. Mom, it's not that simple. We've hurt each other so much. David, you're 35. You're not a boy anymore. If you love this woman, if she's good for you, if you can be happy together, then it's worth the risk. Because regret, son, is a bitter companion for the rest of your life. David knew his mother was right. He'd spent the last 6 months regretting things he'd said during the divorce, missed opportunities to handle things differently. The next day, Jennifer traveled to Seattle for the interview. David stayed to care for Mrs. Reynolds and couldn't focus on anything all day. Son, you're nervous, his mother observed at lunch. A little. She'll do well. Jennifer has always been great at what she does. I know. That's what worries me. Mrs. Reynolds smiled. You're afraid she'll get the job and leave. David nodded. And I'm also afraid she won't get it and stay here because she has no other choice. I see. You want her to stay because she chooses to, not because she has no alternative. Exactly. That afternoon, David organized the medical equipment that wouldn't be needed once his mother returned to her apartment. He found a box of old photos Jennifer had brought to show Mrs. Reynolds. They were photos from their wedding, trips they had taken together, happy moments that seemed to belong to another life. David spent an hour flipping through the images, remembering how happy they were before everything started going wrong. There was one specific photo that moved him, Jennifer planting flowers in the garden, smiling at the camera with dirt on her hands and joy on her face. She loved that house, loved tending to the garden, loved the life they had built together. Jennifer returned from Seattle late in the afternoon, looking tired but satisfied. So? David asked, trying to mask his anxiety. It went well, really well actually. When will they give you an answer? By the end of the week, but the HR manager made it clear they're impressed with my resume and references. David forced a smile. That's great, Jennifer. I'm happy for you. During dinner, Jennifer shared details about the company, about Seattle, about the opportunities for career growth. Mrs. Reynolds asked interested questions, but David could tell she was also worried about the possibility of Jennifer leaving. That night, after Mrs. Reynolds went to bed, David and Jennifer stayed up talking in the living room. "David," she said, "I know this whole situation is strange. Me showing up here taking care of your mother, these conversations we've been having. To me, it's not strange," he interrupted. "It's confusing, but not strange. In fact, having you here has been really nice." Jennifer smiled sadly. "For me too, but I don't know if it's real or if we're just feeling nostalgic." "What do you mean?" "I mean, we're in a special situation, taking care of your mother together, reliving memories, being kind to each other because the moment calls for it. But what happens after, when life goes back to normal? Won't we just fall back into the same problems?" David recognized the validity of her concern. "Maybe. Or maybe we've learned something from everything that happened." "Like what?" "I learned that work isn't more important than family, that there's no point in conquering the world if you have no one to share it with, that I was an idiot for letting you walk away without fighting harder." Jennifer looked down. "And I learned that I can't give up at the first sign of trouble. That marriage takes effort every day, not just when it's easy. That I was an idiot too for not talking more, for holding on to grudges instead of working things out." They sat in silence for a moment. "David," Jennifer finally said, "if I don't get the job in Seattle, will you think I only stayed here because I had no other choice?" "Honestly, a little. But I'd also be happy for the chance to find out if we still have something together. And if I do get the job, then I'll hope you choose to stay anyway." Jennifer smiled, the first truly happy expression David had seen on her in days. "You know what's funny? During the interview today, talking about change, new challenges, all I could think about was how hard it would be to leave your mother, leave this house, leave you. And what does that tell you? That maybe I don't want a new life. Maybe I want to fix the one I already had." David felt his heart race. "Jennifer. But I'm also scared, David. Really scared of getting hurt again." "Me too. But I think it's worth trying." They moved closer on the couch, their hands finding each other naturally. "If we were to try again," Jennifer said, "it would have to be different. No rushing, no pressure to be the same as before." "I agree. Like two new people getting to know each other. People who just happen to have a shared history." David smiled. "A history with an open ending." Jennifer smiled too. "I like open endings." They kissed softly, a kiss filled with caution and hope at the same time. When they separated, Jennifer leaned her forehead against his. "No matter what happens with Seattle, I want you to know these 2 weeks here have been important to me. They helped me remember who I am when I'm with the people I love." "They were important to me too," David said. "They helped me remember that professional success means nothing if you're alone to celebrate it." The following Thursday, Jennifer received the call that would change everything. David was in the kitchen making coffee when he heard her answer the phone in the living room. "Hello? Yes, this is Jennifer. I see. Thank you so much for the opportunity." David tried to decipher her tone, but it was impossible to tell if it was good or bad news. When Jennifer appeared in the kitchen, her face gave nothing away. "It was from Seattle," she said simply. "And?" Jennifer paused dramatically before smiling. "They offered me the job." David felt a mix of joy for her and dread at the possibility of losing her again. "Congratulations, that's wonderful news." "It is," she agreed, though her expression was thoughtful. "When do they need an answer?" "By Monday." 3 days to decide the future. David knew he couldn't pressure Jennifer, but he also knew he had to make his feelings clear. "Jennifer, I want you to know that no matter what you decide, I'll support you. Even if I choose to leave? Even if you choose to leave," he confirmed, though the words hurt to say. That night, Mrs. Reynolds was transferred back to her apartment. David and Jennifer helped her settle in, organized her medications, and made sure she was comfortable. "Kids," Mrs. Reynolds said as they were saying goodbye, Thank you for everything. You've both been angels in my life." She hugged Jennifer especially tight. "Sweetheart, whatever you decide about Seattle, remember you'll always have family here." Jennifer teared up in the embrace. "You're special to me too, Mrs. Reynolds. Always have been." When they returned home, the house that now felt empty without Mrs. Reynolds, David and Jennifer realized this was the first night they'd be completely alone since he'd returned from his trip. "It's strange, isn't it?" Jennifer remarked, looking around the living room. 3 weeks ago, I was here alone taking care of your mother. Now she's better, and we're here not knowing what to do with each other." David laughed. "It is strange, but it's honest too. Without my mother's situation keeping us together, it's just the two of us figuring out if this still makes sense." "And do you think it does?" "Makes sense, I mean." David moved closer to her. "Jennifer, can I be completely honest with you? Please. These last few weeks have been the best I've had since our divorce, not just because you took care of my mother, but because having you here reminded me how good life can be when you're not alone." Jennifer listened quietly. "I'd wake up in the morning and the first thing I'd see was you making coffee in the kitchen. During the day while working, I'd look forward to lunch because I knew I'd get to talk to you. At night, watching TV with you and my mum gave me a sense of family I hadn't felt in a long time." "David, let me finish," he asked. "I know we had problems. I know we might face the same ones again. But I also know you're the person I want by my side when things get hard. The one I want to hug when I have good news. The one I love even after everything that's happened." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. "I love you too, David. I never stopped. But love alone doesn't solve practical problems." "It doesn't," he agreed. "But it can give us the strength to work through them together." Jennifer walked to the window, looking out at the garden she had planted herself years before. "You know what hurts me the most in all of this?" she said. "It's that I still see myself living here. I still dream about the plants I want to add to the garden, the changes I'd make to the decor, about children playing in the living room." David came up behind her. "And why does that hurt you?" "Because I don't know if they're real dreams or just nostalgia." "There's a way to find out." Jennifer turned to him. "How?" "Stay. Don't take the job in Seattle. Let's try again, slowly, no rush. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, at least we'll know we really tried." Jennifer shook her head. "David, I can't just turn down an amazing professional opportunity based on the hope that our second try will work out." "I'm not asking you to do it just based on hope," David said. "I'm asking you to do it based on the love that still exists between us and the certainty that what we have is worth fighting for." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now, back to the story. Jennifer took a deep breath. "And what if it doesn't work? What if in 6 months we're fighting again, divorcing again, hurting each other again? Then at least we'll have tried. And I'd rather take the risk than regret it for the rest of my life." Jennifer was silent for a long time, looking alternately at David and the garden. "I need time to think," she finally said. "How much time?" "Until Sunday. I have to give them my answer Monday morning." David nodded, respecting her need to process everything. "Jennifer, whatever you decide, I want you to know I love you and that I'll be rooting for your happiness, whether it's here or in Seattle." That night, Jennifer slept in the master bedroom and David on the living room couch, as they had for the past few weeks. But there was a different tension in the air, the tension of a decision that would change everything. On Friday, David worked from home and watched Jennifer wandering around the house, clearly deep in thought. She spent long stretches in the garden, as if saying goodbye or reconnecting with the place. At lunch, she asked him a surprising question. "David, if you could change one thing about our first marriage, what would it be?" David thought carefully before answering. "I'd have made work less of a priority and us more of one. I'd have come home earlier, traveled less, been more present for the important moments. What else? I'd have talked more. When you were upset about something, instead of trying to fix it alone or ignoring it, I'd have sat down with you so we could work it out together." Jennifer nodded. "And you? What would you change?" "I'd have been more direct about what bothered me. Instead of holding on to resentment and expecting you to guess, I'd have spoken openly about my feelings. What else? I'd have appreciated the little things more. Breakfasts together, weekends at home, bedtime conversations. I was always waiting for grand romantic gestures and missing the magic in everyday life. David smiled. So we did learn something from our mistakes. We did. But learning is different from applying. True. But at least we know where we went wrong before. That afternoon, Jennifer got an unexpected call. It was from a friend in Seattle who had visited the company where Jennifer would be joining the team. Amanda, what a surprise. What do you mean you know someone there? Really? I see. Thanks for telling me. I'll think about it. When she hung up, Jennifer looked troubled. What's wrong? David asked. It was my friend Amanda. She knows an employee at the company in Seattle. Apparently, they have a history of letting people go after the probation period to avoid paying full benefits. David felt a mix of relief and worry. Relief because maybe Jennifer wouldn't go anymore. Worry because she was losing a professional opportunity. Does this change anything for you? I don't know. Maybe. It's just that I saw that job as a guarantee for my future, but if it's not that secure... Jennifer, you're skilled enough to get other jobs. You don't have to take the first one that comes along. But what if nothing else comes up for months? I can't stay unemployed indefinitely. David hesitated before asking his next question. What if you looked for work right here in Chicago? There are plenty of companies in your field. I already did, David. Before the opportunity in Seattle came up, I sent my resume to dozens of companies here. Few responded, none called me for an interview. David remembered the tough economic situation the country was going through, the high unemployment rate. Jennifer, can I make a suggestion? No pressure, just an idea. Go ahead. What if you turned down Seattle and gave us another chance? In the meantime, you could keep looking for work here. If after 3 months nothing comes up and we aren't working out, you can look for opportunities in other cities. Jennifer looked at him, surprised. You're suggesting I turn down a guaranteed job to bet on a possibility. I'm suggesting you follow your heart and trust that things will work out. David, that's too risky for me. I know, and I won't be upset if you decide it's too much of a risk. That evening, Jennifer cooked dinner while David sorted through some work papers at the living room table. It was a simple domestic scene, but it brought a sense of normalcy they'd both missed. David, Jennifer called from the kitchen, can you give me a hand here? When he walked in, Jennifer was struggling to open a stubborn jar of preserves. Let me try, he said, standing behind her to take the jar. For a moment, they were very close, and David caught the familiar scent of her hair. Jennifer turned slowly, and they found themselves inches apart. Jennifer, he whispered. David, They kissed again, but this time it was different. There was no rush or anxiety, just the recognition of a love that had never truly ended. When they pulled apart, Jennifer rested her head on his chest. This complicates everything, she murmured. Why? Because when you kiss me like that, I remember how things used to be between us. And then I'm afraid I'm making decisions with my heart instead of my head. David stepped back slightly to look into her eyes. What if you did make the decision with your heart? What would it say? Jennifer took a moment to answer. My heart says to stay, to try again, to bet that we can be happy together. And your head? My head says I'm crazy for even considering this. David smiled. Ever heard the saying, nothing ventured, nothing gained? David, it's not just about taking risks. It's about being realistic. I need to work. I need financial independence. I need a future. And you think you can't have all that here? I can. But what if I don't? What if we don't work out and I end up without a job and without you? David understood her fear. Jennifer needed security, and he was asking her to give up certainty for a possibility. Jennifer, can I make you an offer? What kind of offer? If you decide to stay and try again with me, I'll help you financially while you look for work. No strings, no pressure, as an investment in our future. Jennifer pulled away. David, I can't take your money. That would create an imbalance between us. It wouldn't be money, it would be a loan. You'd pay me back once you got a job. And if I never get a job? What if things don't work out between us? David hesitated. He knew he was taking a financial risk, but he also knew it would be worth it if he got a second chance with Jennifer. Then we'll figure it out. But I believe you'll find work, and I believe we'll make it work. Jennifer shook her head. That's a lot of responsibility, David, for both of us. I know, but sometimes it's worth taking on responsibilities for the people we love. On Saturday morning, Jennifer woke up early and made breakfast. When David came downstairs, he found the table set with special care. Flowers from the garden, fresh bread, sliced fruit. "What's the special occasion?" he asked. "Nothing, I just wanted to make us a nice breakfast." David smiled as he sat down. "It's delicious, thank you." Over breakfast, Jennifer seemed more relaxed than she had in days. They talked about everyday things, laughed over old memories, and planned a visit to Mrs. Reynolds. "Jennifer," David said as they were finishing, "can I ask you something without you feeling pressured?" "Go ahead." "Have you decided what you're going to do?" Jennifer sighed. "Not yet, but I'm getting close." "Can you give me a hint?" Jennifer smiled mysteriously. "Let's just say this breakfast is a test." "A test of what?" "To see how it feels taking care of you again, whether it feels natural or forced." "And what's the verdict?" "Still analyzing." That afternoon, they went to visit Mrs. Reynolds, who was recovering well in her apartment. The older woman had prepared a special lunch and was visibly happy to see them together. "Kids, what a joy to have you here. How are things?" "Good, Mom. Jennifer's still deciding about that job offer in Seattle." Mrs. Reynolds looked at Jennifer warmly. "And how's that decision coming along, dear?" "It's hard, Mrs. Reynolds. On one hand, it's a big professional opportunity. On the other, leaving the people we love is never easy," the older woman finished. "Exactly. Can I give you an old woman's opinion?" Jennifer nodded. "Professional opportunities come and go in life, but finding someone who truly loves you, who accepts your flaws, who's willing to fight for you, that's much rarer. But what about financial independence, professional fulfillment? They're important, dear, but they're not the only things that matter, and you're more than capable of finding a good job here too." David listened quietly, realizing his mother was saying exactly what he wanted to say, but with more wisdom and less self-interest. "Mrs. Reynolds," Jennifer said, "do you think it's worth it for David and me to try again?" "Dear, I've known my son for 35 years, and I can tell you, I've never seen him as happy as he was when he was married to you. I've also never seen him as heartbroken as he was after the divorce. And if it doesn't work this time, then at least you'll know you gave it your all. But I believe it will work. You're both wiser now. You've learned from your mistakes." On the drive home, Jennifer stayed quiet the whole way. David respected her silence, understanding she was processing the conversation with his mother. "David," she said, as they pulled into the driveway, "I need to tell you something." "Go ahead." "I already knew what my decision was before we even talked to your mum." David's heart raced. "And what is it?" Jennifer parked the car in the garage and turned to him. "I'm calling Seattle on Monday morning to turn down the offer." David felt a rush of joy and relief, but wanted to make sure she was doing it for the right reasons. "Are you sure? Do you need more time to think?" "I'm sure. I can't spend my whole life afraid of getting hurt. And I can't let a second chance with the man I love slip away." David pulled her into an emotional embrace. "Jennifer, I promise I'll do everything differently this time." "We'll do everything differently," she corrected. "Together." They kissed right there in the car, a kiss full of promises and hope. When they got home, Jennifer went straight to the phone. "I'm calling right now," she said. "Now? But weren't you supposed to call only on Monday?" "I don't want to spend the whole weekend thinking about this. I want to settle it quickly and focus on our future." David watched as Jennifer dialed the company's number in Seattle. "Hello, good afternoon, this is Jennifer Miller. Yes, about the job offer. Actually, I need to let you know I won't be accepting the position. I understand, thank you for the opportunity." When she hung up, Jennifer looked relieved. Done. Decision made, bridge burned. How do you feel? Scared and happy at the same time. David hugged her again. And now? Now we start over. Slowly, no rush, building something new from the wreckage of the old. That night they talked about the future, about how they wanted this second chance at their relationship to be. I think we should try couples therapy, Jennifer suggested. I agree. This time, we want to make it work for real. And I think you should keep sleeping in the living room for now. David smiled. No rush, huh? No rush. I want us to rediscover each other little by little. Jennifer, can I ask you something? Of course. When did you decide you were staying? Jennifer thought for a moment. I think it was when you hugged me in the kitchen, and I realized you still smell the same. It sounds silly, but it reminded me of so many good things. It's not silly. Sometimes it's the small details that make all the difference. And you? When were you sure you wanted me back? Honestly, I was never sure I didn't want you. Even during the divorce, part of me hoped you'd change your mind. Why didn't you fight harder for me back then? David sighed. Pride, anger. I thought if you didn't want to try anymore, it wasn't worth pushing. And now? Now I know it's worth fighting for the people we love, even when they're not sure themselves. On Sunday, they spent the day reorganizing the house. Jennifer brought some of her things from the apartment where she'd been staying temporarily, but kept most of it there. Don't you want to bring everything? David asked. Not yet. I really want to take it slow. Maybe in a few months. That afternoon, they had an unexpected visitor. It was Rachel, Jennifer's best friend. Hi, guys, she said, clearly surprised to find David there. Jennifer, can I talk to you? Jennifer and Rachel went out to the garden, where they talked for almost an hour. David could catch bits of the conversation and realized Rachel was questioning Jennifer's decision. When Rachel left, Jennifer came back a little upset. What did she say? David asked. That I'm crazy for turning down a guaranteed job to try again with you. That I'll probably regret it. And do you think she's right? Part of me does, but a bigger part thinks she doesn't understand how I feel. How do you feel? Jennifer moved closer to him. Like I'm home. For the first time in months, I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. David kissed her softly. Then it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. That night, they watched a movie together on the couch, Jennifer leaning against David's shoulder. It was a simple moment, but it brought back a sense of normalcy they'd both lost. David, Jennifer murmured when the movie ended. Thank you for not giving up on us. Thank you for coming home. Jennifer smiled, closing her eyes. Good night. Good night. David stayed awake longer, watching Jennifer sleep on the couch. She looked peaceful, and he felt immense gratitude for having a second chance to do things right. On Monday morning, Jennifer woke up determined to look for a job. She updated her resume, researched companies, and sent out several applications. I'm going out to drop off some resumes in person, she said during lunch. Do you want me to come with you? No, I'd rather go alone. I need to prove to myself that I can handle this. David understood her need to maintain her independence. That afternoon, while Jennifer was out, David got a call from work. It was his boss, offering him a promotion that would require frequent travel. David, this is an excellent opportunity. Significant pay raise, more responsibilities. Can I think about it and get back to you tomorrow? Of course, but don't take too long. We have other interested candidates. When Jennifer returned, David told her about the offer. Is it a good opportunity? She asked. Professionally, yes, but it would mean traveling at least 2 weeks a month. Jennifer was silent for a moment. What do you want to do? I want to turn it down. Why? Because I just got you back. I won't risk our second chance for a promotion. Jennifer moved closer to him. David, I don't want you to reject professional opportunities because of me. I don't want that responsibility. It's not just because of you. It's because I've learned there's more to life than work. But what if you regret it later? David held her hands. Jennifer, during our first attempt at marriage, I prioritized work and lost you. I won't make the same mistake twice. Are you sure? Absolutely. On Tuesday, David called his boss and declined the promotion. That same day, Jennifer got a call for a job interview at a digital marketing company in Chicago. "It's tomorrow afternoon," she said excitedly. "That's great. How are you feeling?" "Nervous but hopeful." On Wednesday, David anxiously waited for Jennifer to return from the interview. When she arrived, she was beaming. "It went really well. They liked my profile and experience. They'll give me an answer by Friday. I'm rooting for you. David, no matter the outcome, I want you to know I feel good about trying again. Here, with you." On Thursday, they invited Mrs. Reynolds over for dinner. She was visibly happy to see them together again. "Kids, what a joy. You both have such good energy." During dinner, Jennifer talked about the interview, and David mentioned turning down the promotion. "You're both making decisions with your hearts," Mrs. Reynolds observed. "That's beautiful to see. Do you think we're doing the right thing?" Jennifer asked. "Dear, there's no right or wrong when it comes to love. Only what makes you happy." On Friday, Jennifer got the call she'd been waiting for. "I got the job," she shouted, jumping into David's arms. "Congratulations, I'm so proud of you. I start Monday. Good salary, benefits, and best of all, it's here in Chicago." David kissed her, happy to see her professionally fulfilled and knowing she'd stay. That night, to celebrate, they went to the restaurant where they'd had their first date years earlier. "Remember the first time we came here?" Jennifer asked. "I do. You ordered the same dish 3 times in a row because you were nervous, and you spilled wine on your shirt and turned red with embarrassment." They laughed at the memories. "Who would have thought years later we'd be here again, celebrating a second chance," David said. "Funny how life works, huh?" Over dinner, they talked about the future, about plans they wanted to make together. "Jennifer," David said as they were having dessert, "I have something for you." He pulled a small box from his pocket. "David, what is this?" "Open it." Inside the box was the engagement ring Jennifer had sold to cover Mrs. Reynolds' medical expenses. "How did you get it?" "I went to the jeweler where you sold it and bought it back. I thought it belonged with you." Jennifer began to cry. "David." "It's not a proposal," he quickly clarified. "Just a way to return what was rightfully yours." Jennifer took the ring and slipped it onto her finger, overcome with emotion. "Thank you for everything, for giving me a second chance, for believing in us when even I doubted. Thank you for coming home." 6 months later, they were officially living together again. Jennifer had settled well into her new job, and David had found a better balance between work and personal life. "David," Jennifer said one Sunday afternoon, "I have something to tell you. Go ahead. I'm pregnant." David nearly dropped the coffee cup he was holding. "Really?" "Really. I found out yesterday." He hugged her tightly, moved. "How are you feeling?" "Happy. And a little scared, but happy." "Scared of what?" "Everything this means. The responsibility, the changes." "We'll face it all together," David said. "Like it always should have been." A year later, they were in their garden, watching their daughter take her first steps. Mrs. Reynolds, now a doting grandmother, cheered excitedly. "My dears," she said, "you've proven that true love deserves a second chance." Jennifer smiled, holding David's hand. "Actually, Mrs. Reynolds, I think we proved that sometimes the second try is even better than the first." David kissed his wife's forehead. "Because the second time, you already know exactly what you don't want to lose." The end. So what did you think of this second chance story? What did you think? Were you rooting for David and Jennifer to stay together? Share your thoughts in the comments about the choices they made and whether you believe love deserves another opportunity. We'd love to hear your take on this tale of new beginnings and hope.